Hey, what's a vampire's favorite fruit? Nectarine. Hey, shh. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. With me, as always, is my co-host and wife, Kelsey.
Hey yo.
This week, we got hot and hungry with 2024's
Ugh.
Nosferatu. So what do you think the story was?
It's about Nosferatu.
What about him?
Oh. He's a vampire who has been released and is going to bring a plague over a city because his woman married another man.
I think he's a simpin' fuckboy.
Oh, that's another way to put it.
So, the movie starts out with Ellen, who is young and so lonely that she calls out for some companionship. And as old nasty men do, he came and,
Cain.
ugh. Yeah.
They engaged in sexual intercourse.
There's no proof of that.
It literally showed it.
He
And she talked
ate
about it.
her.
And she talked about it later in the movie, that she was impure.
Well, years later, she gets married to a man named Thomas and, finds her a nice guy. And Thomas is set up by his job to go sell a castle, or not a castle, go sell an old rickety house to a man named Count Orlok who lives in Transylvania.
Oh, that's what it was. I didn't realize it was Transylvania.
Yeah.
I just knew it was like far away. It takes 6 weeks to get there, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So they did this as a setup because obviously Count Orlok is the evil vampire who's mad at Ellen because Ellen married Thomas and sleeps with him now.
Yeah. So the exterior of Orlok's castle.
I feel like we should mention Ellen, they believe, is mentally ill. She gets these nightmares and they're flashbacks of her past, and they have friends, Frederick Harding, and Frederick has a wife, Anna, and they have 2 children, plus Anna is pregnant with their third. And so Thomas takes Ellen to him to watch over while he's gone. But she doesn't want him to leave because she's worried for him. And I think that her nightmares and stuff play a huge part later in the movie to know, because they mention stuff about her past and how she's been like this before. And so you honestly just think that she's been mentally ill, likely with a history of maybe some suicidal thoughts. That's the vibe that I got.
And doctors back then, they'll prescribe you cocaine for ghosts in your blood.
Yeah, we can get to what they do to her later.
So, as he gets to Orlok's castle, I wanted to say that the exterior of his castle, it was filmed at Corvin Castle, which is a Romanian castle located in Transylvania, and it's one of the largest medieval castles in Europe.
That'd be cool to see. Is it tourable?
Yeah, I think so. At least
cool.
parts of it. And then it was snowing along this trip, but the snow they used in the movie was not CGI like a lot of movies do these days. They used a technique from the 1940s where frozen potato flakes are crushed and made into snow-like particles.
Interesting.
I was worried when I started reading that trivia. It said, they used an old technique, and I was like, oh no, they use asbestos? Because that's what they used to do.
Oh, yeah, they did. I also think it was interesting on the way to the place. He had a horse.
Yeah, his horse gets taken by those people.
Yeah, his horse gets taken by those people. And then the people took his money and then abandoned the village. I still don't know if they were real.
They were warning him against going to Count Orlok, and then he awakes to see them exhuming a corpse because it's, I guess, a vampire. It seemed like they stabbed it and it got up and screamed. So I think it was a vampire. So it's like there is other vampires that these people know about. They just don't fuck with Count Orlok because he's the main one.
Yeah, he's the one who brings plague across everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, when he wakes up, it was funny as hell because you had mentioned, what happened to his horse, and his first line upon waking up is, my horse.
Yeah, I did. I was like, where did his horse, is that his horse? They had a naked lady riding him.
Yeah, so that's...
And it seemed like she was supposed to be a sacrifice.
Well, apparently it was an old ritual where if you put a virgin woman onto a white horse, it would lead you to a vampire.
Well, it's very lucky that Thomas happened to stroll about with his white horse and that they had a virgin woman in the village already.
Yeah. So, once he meets with Count Orlok, It's already weird immediately. The dude's, yelling at him randomly. He's standing in dark corners, that kind of thing. And he, like, cuts his hand on his first night there. And you just see Count Orlok's eyes light up like Bruce in Finding Nemo when
What?
there's blood.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about the beginning of this is they basically made Orlok look like a shadow figure for a long time. Like, you only got the outline of him. You didn't see the true ugly for a little bit, which I think made it more creepy.
I do agree that was a good way to do it. And, his voice does a lot, too. Bill Skarsgård trained with an opera coach to lower his voice an octave to make that voice all deep like it was.
Oh, that was a good voice.
Yeah, he's just talking, in the darkness the whole time, and it's terrifying.
Did he have to go up an octave for Pennywise?
I'm assuming so. I mean, apparently he was doing crazy voice exercises on set. He was doing, like, throat singing, if you've ever heard that.
Yeah.
So,
I could imagine.
I'm going to mention this because my last piece of trivia that we'll talk about at the end is about this. He is, like, eating Tom. It's like he's feeding on Thomas for what seems like a couple of days, a few days.
Yeah, and Thomas is also starting to have these dreams now.
Yeah, and he keeps waking up and being like, well, can I leave? And Count Orlok's like, don't worry about it.
Count Orlok also has him sign a paper, and he's like, this is for the deed to the house. And it definitely wasn't. It was, he's like, it's written in my native tongue. Not written in a language that Thomas can read. And he's sweating, but he signs it anyway. And it turns out later, you find out it was like an annulment, papers, basically.
Yeah. Which to me is so weird. I'm like, why did you need... You're like a vampire. You're worried about the legal system and making sure
He was worried with his rotting corpse body.
Well, so back to Wisburg, where they're from, he's from. Ellen is, continuing to have seizures. She's sleepwalking. She knows Count Orlok is coming, and she keeps telling people, which...
And they don't believe her.
I'm wondering, like, did she know... Like, she kept saying, like, oh, I don't want you to go, like, it's, what if something happens? Did she straight up know, like...
I thought that, too.
It's going to be Count Orlok.
I feel like she didn't put two and two together until Thomas got attached, and then he escaped, and she realized he was having the dreams, too. I don't think she realized it was him for a while.
Yeah. Well,
but what I will say is they kept dousing her with chloroform and, like, tying her down, thinking that was going to change.
And they were like, make sure she wears her
corset
and tighten it. I'm like, that'll do it. That'll solve these issues.
Yeah, it made me think of Pirates of the Caribbean when she
faints. Yeah, I was thinking of that too. So yeah, when Thomas escapes, he makes this long trip back, and at the same time, the doctors don't know what to do about Ellen. So Dr. Sievers is the main doctor that's working on him. He contacts Dr. Franz, who is this disgraced doctor because he got into the occult and nobody believes him, thinks he's crazy. He immediately is like, oh shit, this is Nosferatu.
Yeah, he knew. I really liked Willem Dafoe's character. He's such a good actor that that his character was the highlight of the movie.
Yeah.
Not that the other people aren't good actors.
I agree. He's really good.
He kind of makes the movie, to me, take it to that next level.
Count Orlok does arrive in Wisburg, and he...
releases rats and a plague.
Yeah, because he arrives on a ship, much like as Dracula's normal origin. Mm-hmm. And when Orlok gets there, he confronts Ellen and is like, either we're together, or I'm going to kill fucking everybody.
And the thing is that Ellen has to willingly submit to him. He can't force her to do it. That's part of the curse or bonding or whatever.
And in response, Ellen bangs her husband, and in response to that, Count Orlok kills her friend and their children. Which, holy shit, what a scene! It's awful. Like,
he kills the wife, so he kills Anna and their two children.
Well, and I believe that was the friendship, alive. Right? Like, it was Ellen and the wife were friends.
Correct.
Yeah.
And her husband, Frederick, was kind of like the richest guy in town. He owned the ports. And so he's been trying to figure all of this out behind the scenes. It is very sad that they were all killed.
Well, the children, the whole movie, they kept being like, what if there's a monster under our bed? LOL. And then the parents are like, oh, we'll check. And I'm like, there's going to be a fucking monster under your bed.
Yeah, and they all died. But Willem Dafoe knows that the only way for Nosferatu to die is for Ellen basically to die as well, to kill him with the light. And Thomas thinks that they can just stab him with an iron stake. So, they take Willem Dafoe home. I don't know his character's name.
It's okay. I mean, we can just people know. So
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe and Ellen both have the understanding of what's going to go down. That Ellen's going to make this sacrifice, but Thomas goes with Willem Dafoe to where Count Orlok's coffin is because they say he can't return to the coffin. That's how we're going to stop him. So they burn down where the coffin is, but doesn't matter because I guess that wasn't going to do anything because meanwhile Ellen is saying that she submits herself to
Orlok.
Nosferatu, Count Orlok.
I do
And
wonder, do you think it was messed up of Willem Dafoe to lie to Thomas?
kinda, but I guess, it's for the greater good. But also, I don't fully get that that's the, like, all she did was, like, so he's on top of her, eating her, sucking her blood, and then
As well as penetrating her with his gangly body.
And then he looks outside and the sun's starting to rise and he goes to get up and she's like, no, don't stop. And he's like, fuck, you're right. That's how the movie ends, with him burning on top of her and they're like, the city is saved. But in my head, I was like, well, there's still rats.
And then Thomas comes in and he's like, goodbye, Ellen, like he forgot she was ever even a thing.
Yeah, he just turns to ash on top, or he just kind of turns to a skinnier, more bony version of himself on top of her.
He's just a skeleton.
Yeah, just her getting tackled by a bag of bones on their bed.
Yeah.
So after filming Wrapped, the director, Robert Eggers, sent Bill Skarsgård's prosthetic penis to Nicholas Hoult as a gift.
That's disgusting.
Because Nicholas Hoult said, there's a scene where Bill Skarsgård is slurping my blood, and Robert Eggers asked afterward, how was that for you? And I said, I could feel his prosthetic penis on my leg. And then as a wrap gift, he got it framed and sent it to my house.
That's disgusting.
That's hilarious.
I know, it's also funny.
So the original 1922 film was almost lost, and because Bram Stoker was the creator and author of the novel Dracula in 1897, and his widow took legal action against the director of the original Nosferatu in 1922 due to the similarities to Dracula. The judge ordered all copies of the 1922 film to be destroyed, but some survived, or else this remake probably wouldn't have happened.
Oh, that's cool. What an interesting fact.
So,
people just got to be greedy, don't they?
Well, I mean, to be fair, you look at these similarities like, this is just Dracula. But the budget for this movie was $50 million, and it made $181.2 million. Pretty good.
That's a lot of money.
And
for a horror movie?
Yeah. The Rotten Tomato score is at 84% with an average rating of 8 out of 10. People do really enjoy it. I rated it a 3.5 out of 5. I'm conflicted about it because, like, I think what this does well is creates a very unique atmosphere of horror where you feel just uncomfortable the whole time. But I fucking hate that it's just about this dude wanting
a woman,
this girl. Like, I know that's the original story, and I do give him credit for that, for basically just sticking to that. But I do feel like there could be more explored with Count Orlok rather than just him simping over this girl so hard that he's going to kill people about it. But yeah.
I actually rated the movie a 4 out of 5. I liked a lot of, like, how dark it was and all of that, but I still agree. I don't like the fact that it was like, well, I sexually assaulted a child and have just been attached to her since, and I'm gonna be mad that she is now married to another man.
Yeah.
I don't like that aspect of it, but I did like, the doctors thinking she was crazy, because that's exactly how it would have went. Like, they were asking if they bled her, if they did all of these things, and they did. And so you feel for that, but I think it really related to the time in which it was depicting in the 1850 Germany.
Yeah, it felt like it. And I mean, they did all the things. They was doing leeches, bleeding, cocaine, chloroform.
Yeah.
And he even said at some point, he's like, yeah, I've heard women all around make up stuff like this. And I'm like, Jesus, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe also gave the movie an entire extra point.
For sure. Okay, so I have a wheel for you here with different names. And they're all vampires. No, I don't want you to read the names because you're going to make fun of me because I typed it in a hurry.
I won't. It's okay. Names are Blade, Count Orlok, Edward Cullen, if you know, you know, Morbius, and Count Von Count.
Yes.
I don't know who Count Von Count is.
Perfect. So the first 3 will try to kill you, and the last 3 will protect you. Are you ready to see who your first 3 are?
Yeah, but there's only 5.
Yeah, I left one off, but I can add it.
Okay.
You got Edward Cullen.
Edward Cullen's trying to kill me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The last one is Dracula.
Okay.
So Edward Cullen's going to try and kill me.
As well as...
Morbius.
Morbius. Okay.
Listen, I couldn't have picked it better. The weaklings.
Okay, one more. Holy shit.
Count Von Count.
You just, you win.
I do win, because who's Count Von Count?
1. 2.
Oh, in Hotel Transylvania?
No, in Sesame Street.
Oh. What's the dude in Hotel Transylvania's name?
That's just Dracula, but it's Adam Sandler's Dracula.
Oh, okay.
Which, honestly, is the Dracula that I meant to put up there, but then I forgot.
I mean, I think he'd still win.
You'd still win because you have Blade and Count Orlok versus clowns.
I really only need Blade.
To be fair, I mean, do you really think that they could keep up with Edward Cullen?
Because look at how fast he is. You think you can outrun me?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to have Edward on my team.
Can't they rip off people's heads in those movies? Just... Yeah. Without even trying?
Correct.
And he's
but Count Orlok can haunt your dreams.
Yeah, but he's not very fast.
Or very strong.
And
all I need is Blade and Dracula.
Edward Cullen can walk in the daytime. I mean, so can Blade. Yeah. Okay. I think you win.
I do. I do win.
I mean, you have fucking the Count on their team, and he's not doing anything. Okay. I expected that to go a lot worse for you, but that was the game.
Yeah, nice. Good looking out.
So what is your sequel?
All right, my sequel is called Nosferatu, Peter's next project. What?
I was holding back a Joe Swanson impression.
Which was what?
Peter.
So the movie is going to start off in black and white and showing the beginning of Nosferatu, the puppet musical. You'll hear singing and, it's going about, and suddenly you see the main character is none other than Peter Bretter. And for those of you who don't know, Peter Bretter is the world famous, what do they call the people who make songs? Composer. He's the world famous composer and has the ever popular Dracula puppet musical from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Hint, hint. We did this on the podcast a while ago, but I had this sequel's better. So, flashback to prior to the musical and its making. So, throughout the movie, you're going to see pieces of the new Nosferatu puppet musical and what happened in between. Let's set the stage there. You ready? Peter has had much success since his Dracula puppet musical, moving from a small theater in Hollywood to a nationwide tour, ending with a single show on Broadway due to its popularity and overall good criticism. After touring and much success, he decides to take some time off and enjoy time with Rachel. Wasn't that her name?
Yeah.
Okay, cut this part out.
I'm not cutting it out.
Yeah.
We make no mistakes on this show.
Yeah, no mistakes. While off of work, he has been started to being offered multiple jobs due to his recent success and his prior success on Crime Scene, Scene of the Crime.
You're right.
Crime Scene.
Due to his
prior work on Crime Scene, Scene of the Crime. So Peter will, while contemplating his job ideas and if he should take them or not, Peter has been reading further into vampire history because of the success of his play of Dracula and his personal interest in vampires. He comes across the story and lore about a vampire called Nosferatu. This causes him to watch the original and remake of both of the movies. He contemplates taking another job, but talks with Rachel about him never being truly fulfilled in his work until the Dracula musical. She tells him to follow his heart, and he throws himself into his newer work. Insert montage of him writing, recording, showing Rachel songs, both of them enjoying it. And also, we need a cameo from his brother, Bill Hader, who's going to have another role to play in the play of Peter's. Parts of the new musical, like I said, will be shown throughout all of this. Yeah. Plot twist is also a cameo from Sarah Marshall trying to ruin Peter's new found reputation, saying that he stole the Dracula musical idea, and it's because she's jealous of his newfound fame and him also getting over her. Rachel works behind the scenes and proves that it was Peter that had the idea, and it isn't stolen work. This was the end of Sarah Marshall in Hollywood, as she's not only proved to be a liar, but a bad actress on national television. This gives the opportunity for the media to learn about Peter's new puppet musical, Nosferatu. Like I said, parts of the musical will be spread throughout the entire movie, so you still get basically a shortened version, but the entire version of Nosferatu playing. In the end, we'll show the final scene and final applause with Peter's continued success. I do think the Nosferatu should be a comedic musical like it was with the Dracula musical. Yeah. The end.
I like it. I think it's good because it also kind of goes alongside with the fact that Nosferatu was accused of being stolen and just a copy of Dracula in the first place. And you kind of have something there about him stealing the idea.
Yeah, thanks.
Good. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
You've met the not another needless sequel criteria.
Oh, I have.
Mine's not as fun.
Oh.
Mine's called Van Helsing.
Oh, and I'll see Van Helsing. He'll come slay you. Ha, 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 ha.
Mine's called Van Helsing.
If I see Van Helsing, I will slay you. Ha, 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 ha.
I'm going to leave both of them in.
I don't know the exact words.
And everyone's going to know that you had to, that wasn't on the spot. You put in the effort the second time.
The second time I did. The first time it was definitely on the spot. But what's the actual words? And if I see Van Helsing...
I think it's when I see Van Helsing, I swear to the Lord I'll slay him.
Oh, when I see Van Helsing...
Well, no, that sounds weird. Why would Dracula swear to the Lord?
I swear that I'll slay him. Ha, 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 ha.
As a plague continues to ravage Wisburg...
Die. Die. I can't.
As a plague continues to ravage Wisburg after the passing of Count Orlok, Dr. Franz reaches out to a colleague, Van Helsing, to help investigate why this plague persists. Van Helsing discovers that there are those in the city still worshipping Nosferatu and attempting to bring him back by praying to Belial. Van Helsing believes that to rid Wisburg of this plague, he must rid the city of Belial's worshippers. Van Helsing begins a mad hunt through the city, accusing and imprisoning anyone he deems a threat. So if you don't know, Belial is, in some religions, I guess, like one of the kings of hell, and he is directly associated with the plague, and Nosferatu being associated with the plague.
They kind of mentioned that in the movie.
Yes.
What I was really thinking is, man, Van Helsing has a lot of power for just being a dude. He's like, you look suspicious. Bye-bye.
Oh, you don't know about Van Helsing? You never seen Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing?
Mm-mm.
Dog. The city begins to turn against Van Helsing and claim he has lost sight of the real threat and is attacking the innocent. In response, Van Helsing only becomes more convinced that his crusade is a righteous one and begins to employ his own weapons against the citizens.
Oh.
After a child is nearly drowned with holy water, Van Helsing begins to question his sanity and looks back on his mistakes. Stricken with depression by his failures, Van Helsing plans to take his own life by throwing himself from the top of a church. As he stands staring over the plagued town, he sees a large winged creature in the distance flying towards him. Having already made his decision, he can do nothing but stare at this creature until it is right in front of him. As the creature reaches his eyesight, he knows what he is looking at and mutters to himself, "Belial." Just then, Belial rushes into him, knocking him from the top of the church to the ground. As the camera zooms in on his lifeless corpse, we see his destroyed body begin to rise with an unholy look in his eyes. The end.
So is it under the impression that he done murders everyone after that? Or did he become...
Belial is taking over the whole town, and, like, he's one of them now, or taken over by Belial.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was going to say, is he now, like, an agent of the devil?
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, most of the horror in this movie would come from basically you seeing signs that he's right. But, you know, then he starts to question it. It'd be something akin to, like...
Crisis of Faith?
Well, I was thinking of another horror movie, Hereditary. Like, once you know what's happening and, you know, you go back and watch, you see things that are happening in the movie that you're like, fuck, all these people are part of this fucking cult. Mm-hmm. Like, shit like that, I think, would make this movie horror. I just want to keep that aspect of, like, the atmosphere being very uncomfortable and you wondering... So while I don't have a direct vampire in it and you don't really see anything till the very end with, like I said, that Belial being a winged creature, I think it could do good.
Could do good. It's interesting. It's an interesting thought and shows Van Helsing is also not the good guy.
Yeah, true that. So thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Sky. We are NansPod everywhere.
NansPod!
If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls, or you can let us know your idea across our socials or at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you are listening. If I could ask you for one thing, it's to share a show with someone and leave us a review. That is how we get new listeners. Of course, I also ask that you come back for more Needless Sequels. Next week, we're watching The Accountant on Max in preparation for The Accountant 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
I don't know if it's called that.
Oh, I thought, sorry.
Today,
Sorry, my bad. I
want to close with a line from Willem Dafoe's character in this movie. I have seen things in this world that would make Isaac Newton crawl back into his mother's womb. We are not so enlightened as we are blinded by the gaseous light of science. I have wrestled with the devil as Jacob wrestled with the angel in Peniel. I meant to look up how to say that word. And I tell you that if we are to tame darkness, we must first face that it exists. Take care of yourselves, everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye.